Reed, you know they can't hear you. I said, I don't care. Got a note here from Mayville. You know, they have a great group here. They meet at the VFW. They have a gazebo. They have a big place to picnic. They have a huge kitchen. Wonderful facilities. Huge group of people over there in Mayville. They have 80, 100 people. They took a ride on the Chautauqua Bill. If your senior group, or any group you belong to, have it investigated for very little expense, you can take a ride on the Chautauqua Bill. That's that beautiful paddle wheeler that's right down there at the foot of the hill in Mayville. And they have food on board. You can have all kinds of wonderful fun for peanuts. It's just like going to the local McDonald's. You get a ride all over the lake, too. You stop at Chautauqua, you can wade ashore and save a gate fee. One of the 14 ways you can get into Chautauqua without a gate fee. I wanted to mention, over there, we have a big deal coming on. We're going to have a picnic August 6th at noon in the pavilion at the VFW. So drop around if you're not a member. Tell them you want to join. You're interested in getting involved. You have lots of things to do. And let's see, we got a couple other notes here. I'm going to keep the news short because we got a real entertaining guy on here. I want to talk with him a lot. First of all, I had a quick note here from Dunkirk. The attendance prize there was won by Helen Barone. You know, attendance is very important. And Betty Korzinski is the one who does the job. She's the president over there. And we have another quick note here. There is going to be a bus trip coming up to the Niagara Seneca Casino. You know, these guys, they have the most wonderful casinos up around Niagara. That one, you overlook the falls, you can see the whole falls. It's just beautiful from the patio. And you actually can spend all your money there in about a half hour if you bet it right. Because whatever you do, when you go to a casino, do not gamble. Usually they give you deals. You get the first card in blackjack as an ace, and they double your return on a couple of games, and it's kind of fun. Take those. Bet them once. If you win, take your money and run. If you lose, run anyway. Do not stick around and start gambling. That's what they hope you will do. And you'll probably make money if you just bet the specials. When I take a cruise, I get all the specials. I bet every one of them for both my wife and me. But win or lose, I will walk away. And when I'm finished, that's the end of it. I don't go back. All right. Little advice. Quick note here. The Employee and Resident of the Month. WCA Home. That's a beautiful place we have in Chautauqua County. And I just wanted to say hello to Mary Jane Byam and Ashley Babcock. Babcock's a big name up here in Chautauqua. Excuse me for squinting. You know, these old cheaters don't help me much, and the peepers are gone. Eh? Gonna take a break. Got a public service announcement for you, and we'll be back with the geezer who's gonna shoot from the hip.
Diversification. It's a pretty big word, but easy to understand, especially when it comes to structuring your investment portfolio. Having diversity in your investments is always a good idea. It not only makes your overall portfolio more balanced, it can provide you with a little peace of mind by helping you to minimize your risks. Simply put, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Learn more about the importance of diversifying your portfolio and choose to save.
Here he is, my friends. Here he is. The geezer shoots around the hip, Mort Flexer. Good morning, Mort.
Good morning, Reed. Good morning, Chuck. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a pretty big...
yesterday, I took my wife out for lunch. This is over in Jamestown. And we went to a coffee shop. I'm sorry, we didn't go out for lunch. But two young ladies came in with slacks that started just about where you could see where your two cheeks part. And I pointed it out to my wife, saying, "Oh, my God, how can people walk around like that? Doesn't that look terrible?" She said, "What are you looking at? I don't understand." She says, "There's nothing to complain about." I immediately had a flash back in time to when I was about 15, and I went over to my friend's Bob's house, And there was his sister being scolded by his mother. Now, his sister was a good deal older than Bob. She must have been around 20 at the time. And her mother was complaining that the opening in her blouse just went back down too far, that she should go change her dress. Bob's father, who was an Episcopal priest, calmed his wife down. He said, look, times are changing. Young ladies dress that way. Stop complaining about it. And she did. Stop complaining, that is. So you consider the difference, from a little slight spot to half your body being exposed. That's quite a bit. And usually when we think about change, we think in terms of science, but socially we've changed considerably too. And thinking again what those young ladies looked like yesterday, I guess it was a change for the better. Thank you, Reed.
Okay, Mark, thank you. The good news is that it is perfectly legal in New York State for a woman to expose her breasts entirely. She can walk around shirtless if she wishes to. I've got a lot of stuff here that I want to talk about with our guest, who is Chuck Cornell. He's a county legislator. And what district is that, Chuck?
District 12.
District 12. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But now, first of all, where were you born and raised?
I was actually born in South Buffalo, and there for the very early part of my life before my family moved down here to Chautauqua County. My family is from Chautauqua County. I'm actually the sixth generation of my family to live in Chautauqua County. And so we moved out onto Carpenter Pringle Road in the town of North Harmony, where I was raised until I was 14 years old.
Well, my great-great-great-great-grandfather came to a settlement called Panama back in the turn of the 18th century, 1800s. And he was a preacher. He founded the church over there in Panama. And my great-grandfather, I mentioned Greg Edwards, was born in his house. He had had a horse ranch. Now, the Irish Powerses were, many of them, gypsies. And they always had horses. And he had a horse ranch, and they eventually took it over for the school. And at the end of the school, there's School Street, and you go down there, and they managed to keep his old mansion he had there. And so we've been there. My great-great-great-great-grandfather is still buried in the Powers section of the cemetery. And you can always tell who founded a village or a hamlet or a town or whatever, because you go to the cemetery. And back in the old days, the first public edifice they usually put up was a cemetery. Joe dies, so we're going to bury him. Well, yonder, that 40 is the cemetery. They put up an arch, and then there's a scramble for the best sites, because you don't want to be in the back of the cemetery. And so the top family got him just inside the arch to the right, and then the second family to the left, just inside the arch, and then people moved back. It's a progression in terms of pecking order.
Right.
I'm proud to say there are dozens of Powers on the right,
On the right.
including Simeon and his good wife Polly, who are my ancestors. And I'll tell you something. This county has a wonderful history. You went to school here now?
Yeah, I actually went to Chautauqua Central School early on, and started 8th grade in Jamestown. So when I started high school, I was going from the smallest to the biggest school in the county, so it was somewhat of a transition. But fond memories of growing up out in the rural countryside, and also fond memories of my high school experience in Jamestown.
Sure.
So.
And you teach at Fredonia occasionally?
I'm an adjunct faculty member at Fredonia.
And you're a dog catcher by what is your real job?
SUNY Fredonia, I was the director for the Center for Rural Regional Development and Governance, and my first order of business was to get that name changed so it was shorter and people could say it.
Sure.
But I did that for a year, and I stepped out of that title to run for this office that I'm pursuing, county executive's office.
And you are currently a legislator?
Currently a legislator at District 12.
Which means it's bye-bye legislator if you lose, but if you win, you're the top dog.
Yeah, that's right. So if I lose, I'm a citizen. If I win, I'm the executive. So,
okay.
Yeah, there's no gray area there.
You're not allowed, like when you go for the Congress, you run for president, still run for your
Senate.
seat too, while you're at it,
No, here locally you can only run for one seat at a time.
You got to pick and choose, huh?
Right, pick and choose.
Pick and choose. And I noticed that John Gallo has announced that he's going to be strong in terms of cutting the legislature back. There's too many people. We have more representatives than whole states do somewhere,
Right.
some places,
Yeah.
just in this little county legislature. And we have